In this video, we're going to be looking at how to compile a .cpp file into an executable. Now here we're going to be looking, I have no files in the directory, you can see here, and we're going to start from scratch. That is, we're going to use nano, and I'm going to create a file called hello.cpp. And of course, .cpp is the traditional ending for C++ files. And as you see, we open it and there's nothing there. And we'll be talking about the different parts of the C++ file more in the lecture series. But for right now, I'm just going to run through this quickly. Usually we'll do the #include iostream. We'll also do our using namespace standard. And then int main. And let's see out something. Our end line, and for the sake of argument, we'll do return 0. Close this, and now we have our file. We're going to save it, of course, Control O for writing out, and Control X. So we have our file there, and if I cat it, you'll see the contents of the file. Now, in order to compile it, we use a command called g++. And it's part of the GNU software project as well. G++, and there's a couple things. First of all, it needs to know what to compile. So we will give it the name as an argument, hello.cpp. If I run this command at this moment, hit enter, it doesn't give us any output. There's no, it doesn't say success, it doesn't say failure. And generally speaking, actually in command line applications, when there is no output, that means it worked. If I type in ls, you will see that there's now 2 files listed. A hello.cpp file, but also a file called a.out. A.out is the executable. It's the file that we can run, that we can see how our program works. In this case, it will say hello world. If I want to execute it, I can type in ./a.out. I'll talk about the / in just a moment. But you can see when I run ./a.out, it says hello world, just like we expected. If we edit the file again with nano, let's go back up to that nano, hello.cpp, go down to hello world, and let's add a new line. Again, people will usually do how are you, and I still have no idea why they usually follow it up with that, but there we go, in line, hello world, how are you? Now let's save this, exit, and again I'm just using the up arrow key to move through the commands, and I'm going to rerun the compile command, g++ hello.cpp. Again, there was no output, so it's saved. I mean, it executed the command correctly. And if I now go back to the ./a.out command, we see that it now says hello world and then how are you? Simple enough. Well, calling it a.out is really kind of silly. So let's remove that, rm a.out. Okay. If we list our files, we only have hello.cpp. So if we go back to the command g++ hello.cpp, how do we tell it to save that a.out as something else? Well, we just add another flag. We do -o, and in this case it's a lowercase o, as opposed to the wget command, which was capital O. This one is a lowercase o, space, and then the name of the file that we want the output to be. At this point, I'm going to warn you that every year, 1 or 2 students do what I'm about to show you. They will start typing in like hello and hit tab, and the computer will automatically fill in hello.cpp. If I were to hit enter at this point, it would look at the file hello.cpp, which contains all my code, it would compile it, and then it would promptly override it with the executable. And yes, I would lose all of my work. Don't do that. Be careful, and that is your warning. There's no undo in the command line. So I've removed the .cpp, and the output file will just be called hello. When I press enter, again, there is no error messages, so I know that it executed correctly. ls will show me that there's now two files. One is called hello, and you see in this case it's green. It's just showing you that it's an executable. And then there's the hello.cpp. And again, I can run /hello, and you see the output is correct. It prints out hello world, how are you? So this is really all that there is. Well, no, compiling can get a lot more complicated, but at the beginning, it's that simple to/turn your programs into something that can run on the system. Now, it may have been in the back of your mind, why are we using the // Well, the reason is you have to go back and think about the video regarding relative versus absolute paths. The single dot, and just by way of reference, if I were to type in a double dot, that would mean the parent directory, and a single dot means the current directory that I'm in. In this case, let's say, for example, instead of instead of calling the output hello, what if I had called the output nano, N-A-N-O? Now I type in nano, and it doesn't run my program. It runs the main program nano, which may be a good thing or may not. But if I want it to run the program that's in my directory, and I just want you to see, if I type in ls, there is a program in my directory called nano, I would have to type in /nano. And that's telling the command line that I want you to look in this directory specifically. That's what the dot's for. Look in this directory specifically for something called nano. And if I run it here, you see that it did in fact run my file. Now you say, Corey, I would never call my file hello. Excuse me, I would never call my file nano. You're right, you probably wouldn't. But do you know every single command that's available to you on the command line? Maybe you're writing a program that calculates a date, and you decide to call that program date. Well, there's a command date for the command line. So if you need your program to run, you have to put a / in front of it. In other words, it's considered very good. It's considered a very good habit to be in, to always use a / when you're talking about something that you have written. Yes, it's using a relative URL, but it's the only way to be sure that the command that you're writing, that the command that you're running is the program that you wrote and not something that's somewhere else on the system. Again, because you may not know every single program that's been installed on that server. You may not know every single command that's available in that command line. However, if you use the /, it will always run your program. So, for example, if I remove that /nano and now just try to type in /nano, it will tell me it doesn't exist. Because it doesn't look for the main program called nano, it looks in this and only this directory for a file called nano. So to sum it up, the / is the safest way to make sure that what is running when you type in a command is actually what you wrote. So always use a / when running your program. The other thing is realize that G++ by default, if you don't give it an output file name, if you don't use the -o flag, it will call your program a.out. A.out isn't that helpful of a name. So always give it a name, but be careful not to overwrite your source code file. So that's the basics of compiling a simple program, I should say. Compiling a simple program in the command line. Thank you.